So, Gaia's Garden then. We've explored 3 screens. There are, a lot remaining.
I'm not sure I like the way you're saying a lot there.
I'm not sure I like the way I'm saying a lot, but, here we are. We're not even off of the first one, and already there's weird chests. So anyway, this place is pretty much a gigantic circle. You can go off to the right. In fact, we do that at first, but in a minute I'm going to change my mind and go back to the left. I'm really only here so that we can make a note of this screen and definitely remember when we come back to it later.
Yeah, and also annihilate that poor cat.
Anyway, I'm just kidding. We're not going to remember this screen at all. I'm going to point it out, and then you're going to be like, oh yeah, I totally remember.
So hang on, I want to back up a second, because the game might have accidentally just dropped some hot lore here. Are Apollo and Zhern, like, actually roommates or something?
You would not believe how good a question that is. So, like... yeah, Apollo and Zhern, what is their deal? Who are they exactly? We know that they've been, like, partying together since, like, literally the beginning of this game. We know that, Zhern is sticking by his friend, despite the fact that Apollo is, like that. Whoever they are, they're in this for the long haul, they live together, they water plants, and they own cats. Like, are they friends? Are they roommates? Are they a couple? Are they family?
I mean, whatever the answer, it does explain an awful lot about why Zhern hasn't just, like, abandoned him many, many hours ago.
He's probably considered it. He probably considers it at least once an hour. But yeah, open theory. It's the kind of thing I honestly half expect them to resolve in the DLC just because people kept asking about it. They're like, guys, developers, please tell us what's the deal with them. And they're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna give you an answer to this, just so you'll stop asking. I could see it. That's what I'd do, frankly.
They would not be the first developer to go that road.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your answer, now shut up about it. No, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to make any sense. Yeah, Nintendo.
Anyway, I think the game actually does expect you to go around, I guess this would be counterclockwise, because in retrospect, there are a couple dialogue prompts that we're going to see in a couple videos' time that are like, hey, this seems like a bit late for you to be bringing up. And I'm pretty sure that they're written in the expectation that you go around this place counterclockwise. But I went around it clockwise, because nothing in the game actually signposts any particular way. Our actual destination is at the top of the circle, and we are at the bottom. And Basin Keep and Autumn's Rise are at the bottom, and the upcoming temples are at the top.
That does seem like an odd choice to write it in that way and then not have anything that points you in that direction?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the deal is with that. Like, I think it's just a technical limitation that they either couldn't entirely or couldn't figure out how in a way that was good enough to have the same bits of dialogue trigger in different places. Like, I think it's just a fact of the game, maybe. Like, it's the kind of thing where if they were making this again, they probably would have addressed that and come up with a way of doing it, but, like, scripting stuff in video games is really weird and has a lot of weird consequences that, like, there's so much stuff that seems not to make any sense until you start addressing how weird it is to script stuff. Here are slimes.
So, forget the slime. What is the weird green glowy at the bottom of the screen?
Don't worry about it. It's nothing. It's a big glowing nothing. It doesn't do anything.
Now that I don't believe for a second.
Come on, man, you're killing me here.
I see Jern is a Dragon Quest veteran.
So, okay, fine. Gaia's Garden is pretty much the only asterisk locale in the game that kind of actually does Metroidvania gate you a tiny bit. The other one, there are a handful of places in Bergen Trail that have giant icicles blocking the path that you just need the fire element to get past. But it's pretty obvious what those are all about when you see them. Like, there's only so many things that you can do in video games with icicles. This, on the other hand, is another matter. This is total Metroidvania. This is just a thing that you see, and you're like, what the fuck is that? I guess it's a thing. And then later, you're gonna get something, and it's gonna make you remember all of these things that you saw, and you're like, oh, I know what we can do with those now.
Now, is it actually going to be like that, or is it going to be, oh, we got a thing. Oh, fuck, where the hell am I supposed to use this?
Why not both?
Because, the problem with being a Metroidvania, when you have previously not been a Metroidvania, is, oh, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble with that one.
So yeah, it is really both. We're gonna see a couple of these things around. When it becomes apparent what they're for and we are able to deal with them, in my experience, most of the time you will remember offhand, like, half of them. And this game does allow you to mark your map, so if you're, like, really fastidious about this stuff, you can make a note of everyone you see and you can come back. In fact, I do that. I did that for a couple of these. I might even actually have shown it. We'll see. Also, this switch.
What the fuck is this shot?
I'm, like, 99% certain that this is a bullshit trick shot that I invented. There's possibly a saner way of doing that. But where would be the fun in that? So yeah, you might have to go scouring if you want to go and pick up all of those things, but on the other hand, mostly they're just for chests. Also, I'm reasonably sure the game accounts for this tendency of players to not be able to photographically memorize every single location of every single green glowy, because the game's gonna send us trekking around this place a couple times after we are done with those dungeons. They're pretty decent about coming up with excuses to have you go poking around. And later the game will give us a decent way to go tracking down chests. So, you know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now, there are some aspects of this that I think they maybe could have implemented with a little bit more care towards quality of life, but on the whole, I can't judge most of this too harshly. As we record this commentary, I have pretty much, like literally yesterday, just finished recording the main playthrough. We are at 100% completion in everything that I care to complete, including literally every single chest. And it was fine, really. Got a little bit fiddly towards the end. There was one chest in Gaia's garden that I had absolutely no idea where it was, and I had to go around every screen waiting for the detector to go off. I remind you that the number of screens in Gaia's garden is a lot. Also, yes, that's the thing the game gives you. You remember in the temple mine we got the item that makes the screen ping when we go into a room with a collectible that we needed? We get one of those for chests, generally. It does not mark them on your map. So you don't get to know, like, you can't just look at a map of Gaia's garden and see that screen has a chest in it. You do have to actually go around visiting all the screens yourself, but when you get to one, it will ping and say, hey, there are 2 chests on this screen. And 90% of the time, the chests aren't hidden as much as they are puzzling to get to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't seem like a particularly useful metric, all things considered, because the way this game works, it's more like, okay, here's the chest. Now, which of the 5 screens that you just came through are you supposed to actually start this path on?
Right. It's a balance. Like, the thing about it is, yes, you see a chest, and you've got to work out how to get to it. And this stuff, like, they're puzzles. These are puzzles. This is not so much a puzzle platformer as a platform puzzler, really, to work this stuff out. So, like any good puzzle game, they make it obvious what you're trying to accomplish. You've got to get here. And from that, they expect you to figure out where you're going. And most of the time, you can pretty fairly backtrace the whole thing. You can figure it out, you can reverse engineer it. Say, well, that chest is jumpable to from here, that platform is reachable from there, and you can trace the whole thing until you figure out where you're going. Where this falls apart is if you've forgotten where the chest is, and it's somewhere in plain sight in the jungle with 50 screens. It's not actually 50, but it sure as hell feels like it sometimes. Anyway, fish.
This is indeed a fish.
You'll be forgiven for not having immediately spotted what these guys' gimmick is, because their pathfinding kind of broke a little bit, but we're going to see it a bit better here.
I was gonna say, didn't Apollo say something about it screaming at you?
Yes.
It did look like it... I mean, it's hard to tell on the BitCrush commentary and code, but it did look like it, like, shot a sound wave at you.
So here's what happens. They have pretty high defense. You shoot them and they break pretty easily, but when they break, they don't become fully broken. They just go into another phase, and in that phase, they will walk right up to you, and do a big shockwave in your face. If you hit them while they're doing that, then they become actually broken and you can go in and make the big numbers come out of them. But before you do that, they will try and keep their distance from you. So it's quite hard to melee them normally. You can absolutely counter them while they're doing the sound wave though, that's totally legit. That works. It's also quite satisfying. Also, unless I'm much mistaken, I think the fish are the first explicitly wave-type enemy we've had to deal with. Which means that they will be inflicting the wave-type bad status situation on us.
Didn't we have the green cubes in the raid?
Yeah. But they just kind of blended in with everything else, but yes. Yeah, that's right, but the green cubes are the cubes are everything. The fish are all wave, all the time. Crap, I'm trying to remember if the green cubes in the raid can actually inflict the wave band thing, but coming up completely blank. I'm sure I'll be reminded eventually. I'm not sure if it was ever really clear before, but here we're seeing Jern actually doing his quadriguard thing.
I'm going to assume those giant arrows are indicating that he's drawing aggro.
Oh yeah. It is classic MMO tanking. He's got all the classics. He's got an aggro draw, he's got a big shield, he gives defense buffs. We've seen him put up the wall of fire, but that's not actually a quadriguard unique tech, we can do that. I'm not sure if he can do it for other elements. I feel like they should be able to do it for other elements, but we can do it for fire. I just don't, because that would mean giving up recoil trumpet, and come on man, are you insane? I'm not giving up recoil trumpet. Some things have got to be sacred, you know? The irony here is that Jern is actually the most likely person in the current party to, unexpectedly die in the middle of combat, which... Okay, yes, he is drawing all the aggro, but it's when you're the tank, it's kind of your job to not die from being mobbed. I feel that's the whole point of you.
I mean, theoretically, we should also have a healer in the party whose job it would be to make sure that Jern doesn't die.
I don't think Crossworlds has healers. There is not a single combat art, or technique, or item that heals another person.
That seems...
There are plenty of ways to heal. I can exclusively reveal we have not even gotten started on ways to heal ourselves.
It just seems like a very odd... I don't know if oversight's the right word, but it's a very interesting design decision to just have no healers.
Yeah, it's all done by means of healing items. It's also curiously difficult to see sometimes, but you remember how there's the default icon for sandwiches and stuff like that, but when Emily does it, she has an icon of a croissant.
I do not remember that, but that is cute.
It is. It turns out that all the different characters have a collection of different icons that can sometimes appear when they do healing. It's just that you won't notice them a lot of the time because they go by really quickly, and by virtue of the whole nature of being at low health, you'll probably be distracted by stuff when it happens. But they do. So Emily's got a croissant. Citron's got ice cream, which, seems pretty obvious in retrospect. Could not tell you off the top of my head what either Apollo or Jern have. Maybe we'll actually see it. So look how long it takes me to notice that actually I've put the barrier down. I can go to the right. There we go. Got there in the end. By the way, this is made enormously more difficult by using a controller because you have to aim via, rotation. If you're using a mouse, you can just point the cursor somewhere on the screen. As long as it's pre the first bounce, you can just be like, I want to fire a shot here. You click there, and it just does it. You could probably have so many arguments about what's the superior control scheme here. Anyway, I recorded this entire thing, almost 100%, using a controller. There is exactly one, open bracket, numeral 1, close bracket, shot, for which I used a keyboard, well, a mouse really. In fact, I dual-wielded a controller and a mouse for that shot. I'm very pleased with myself, actually.
I was gonna say, I expect to be appropriately horrified when this shot happens, because you're building this up quite a bit.
We'll see. I agree that you will be both impressed and horrified. That's a given. Man, it is a epic mission to get around some of these screens. Sometimes they are I don't know what it is about Guy's Garden. Screens just feel bigger, even when they're actually not. It's just the nature of the place. Anyway, this completes our first little leg of this journey. Let's go in the worst cave.